All right, let's talk about aspect ratios. So an aspect ratio is the ratio between the length and the height of your frame. The image you're looking at right now has an aspect ratio of 16 by 9 because there are 3,840 pixels along the bottom of the frame and 2,160 pixels along the top of the frame, which is equivalent to a ratio of 16 to 9. There are all sorts of aspect ratios out there. 1:1 and 4:3 are iconic of old film cameras and TV programs from 70 years ago. 1.78:1 or 16 by 9 is standard for HD videos like YouTube and the video you're watching right now. 1.85:1 is what is most commonly used in US theatrical showings, what you'd see at a theater, and 2.39:1 is your anamorphic or widescreen aspect ratio. Those are just some of the most common aspect ratios used, but you can use whichever one you really want to. And aspect ratios are important for at least two reasons. The first is knowing how to frame your shot. Your composition will be affected by the aspect ratio you film in. Understanding this can help you know where to put your subject in frame. For example, if you're filming in an aspect ratio of 4:3, you won't have quite as much horizontal room as you would shooting in an aspect ratio of 2.39:1, your anamorphic. The second reason is for greater visual storytelling. Have you ever watched a movie and seen the aspect ratio change from one shot to the next? This usually takes place at key dramatic moments in the film. Perhaps your protagonist just realized a major piece of information, and as his perspective broadens, so does the aspect ratio. Or maybe the innocence of a moment transitions to the seriousness of a situation. As your protagonist focuses in, so does your audience through an aspect ratio change. These subtle changes may go unnoticed by the audience, but subconsciously they affect the way we watch films. Here, let's go take a look at how we can change our aspect ratio once we're editing. Alright, so jumping into Final Cut here, when changing your aspect ratio, you may be tempted to just add black bars to your video. And maybe you're thinking you can do this by simply cropping down on the top and bottom of your footage. And there you go, your aspect ratio has changed. Well, not really. Or maybe you're thinking, maybe I can add a shape mask and come up to here and resize everything and maybe come and change this down here and change your aspect ratio that way. While this sort of works, the look you're getting through these methods are purely based on guesswork. Besides, your aspect ratio isn't actually changing. See, if I was to export this clip right here, Final Cut still sees this as a 16 by 9 image, just with black bars on the top and bottom. To actually change your aspect ratio, you want to go into your project settings over here to the side. Click on my project settings, come into modify up here, and right under video, I can change it to a custom aspect ratio. Say I want an anamorphic aspect ratio of 2.39:1 for my timeline. Well, if we do some simple math using the anamorphic ratio and my 4K footage, I can determine that the pixel count is going to be 5162-ish by 2160. Once I click OK, my timeline is going to change the aspect ratio. Now, if I was to drag a 16 by 9 video onto my new timeline, I'll first have to resize it, but once exported, it will stay 2.39:1. Alright guys, so that's going to do it for this video about aspect ratios. I hope you learned something new that you can apply to your filmmaking, and I'll catch you in the next one.